I once thought I grew up in a perfect family, a grand house in an upscale neighborhood, dinners under glittering chandeliers, and parents who always appeared glamorous with their flawless smiles. But if there's one thing I've learned over the years, it's that a perfect exterior can hide the deepest cracks. Because, in reality, my perfect family was just a beautifully crafted illusion that everyone wanted to believe in. My name is Lauren Parker, and I grew up in a world where money seemed endless. My father, Richard Parker, was a brilliant businessman who built his company from the ground up, turning it into a multi-million-dollar corporation. My mother, Evelyn, was the epitome of elegance. A woman who never had to worry about money, but spent it faster than anyone I had ever known. My father worked tirelessly and never let our family lack anything. Everything about our lives radiated wealth. A nearly 1,000 square foot mansion with a heated pool, a garage filled with 3 luxury cars, and my mother's wardrobe overflowing with designer dresses she wore once before tossing them aside. But to me, all that extravagance meant little, because the one thing I truly wanted, my parents' attention, was the one thing I could never have. My mother never worked a single day in her life, but she was a master at spending money. "Richard, I need a new Chanel bag. Everyone at the club has one. I can't be the only one falling behind." I heard those words almost every week. My father never objected. He would simply pull out his credit card and hand it over. That habit was ingrained in our family. My mother demanded, my father provided, and the cycle continued. And me? I was raised by a revolving door of housekeepers and nannies who came and went as frequently as my mother's designer handbags. Most didn't stay long, perhaps because my mother always found a reason to fire them. But one of them was different. "Hey, Lynn." She joined us when I was 8 years old. Unlike the others, she didn't just do her job mechanically. She truly cared about me. She helped me with my homework, read me bedtime stories, and even taught me how to bake cookies on quiet Sunday afternoons. I still remember sitting in the kitchen, my hands covered in flour, as Helen patiently showed me how to shape each cookie perfectly. But happiness never lasted long in my house. One afternoon, while sitting on the staircase reading, I heard my mother screaming in the living room. "I saw you wearing my silk scarf." Her voice was filled with anger, while Helen's remained calm as she tried to explain. "Mrs. Parker, I never touched it. Maybe someone misplaced." "I don't care," my mother snapped. "I can't have a thief in my house. You need to leave, now." I knew Helen didn't do it. She would never steal anything. But in my mother's world, even the smallest excuse was enough to get rid of someone she no longer found suitable. That afternoon, I stood silently, watching Helen pack her bags and leave our enormous house. She didn't cry. She simply gave me a sad smile and brushed a strand of hair from my face. "You'll be okay, sweetheart." I didn't know how to answer. All I knew is that, from that moment on, I was truly alone. My father worked harder than anyone I had ever met. Late at night, I often saw him in his study, hunched over stacks of documents, the glow of his desk lamp illuminating the stress lines on his face. He never complained about exhaustion, never spoke about pressure. "If you want something in life, you build it yourself." That was his motto. I believed he was a man who could never be broken. But then, he did break. It happened on a winter evening when I had just turned 14. My mother was lounging on the couch in the living room, scrolling through her phone, giggling at something a club friend had said. I was upstairs, struggling through my math homework, when the phone rang. A sharp, piercing ring that sent a chill through me for reasons I couldn't explain. My mother answered. "Hello." The next second, she screamed. I had never heard her scream like that before. Her voice was sharp, panicked. I bolted down the stairs, my heart pounding. She stood there, her phone slipping from her fingers, crashing onto the marble floor. "Richard!" she gasped. "Richard had a heart attack. At his office." I don't remember much after that. I remember the icy feeling spreading through my chest as my mother drove like a madwoman to the hospital. I remember her stomping through the waiting room, demanding that the doctors do something, anything. But there was nothing left to do. My father had collapsed at his desk, a massive heart attack. No one had time to react. He was gone. His funeral was a perfect performance by my mother. She wore an expensive black dress, her makeup was flawless, and her tears fell at just the right moments. The funeral attendees murmured condolences, hugging her, offering words of comfort. But I knew, deep down, she wasn't mourning the loss of her husband. She was panicking over losing the man who funded her lavish lifestyle. I heard the late-night phone calls. The lawyer said I can't access the full estate immediately? Why not? My mother didn't cry in her bedroom out of grief for my father. She cried over the bank accounts she couldn't touch right away. I knew from that moment on, our lives would change, and I was right. A month after the funeral, my mother walked into my father's office. The large leather chair, the one my father had always sat in, now belonged to her. She swiveled in it slightly, a smug smile curling on her lips. From now on, I'll be running this company. I stood at the doorway, unease creeping up my spine. My mother had never run anything before. She knew nothing about business, had never cared about my father's work. Yet, she was confident she could manage an entire empire. Her first board meeting was a disaster. She gathered the executives and declared, "We don't need to make things as complicated as Richard did. I trust my instincts. Let's cut out all the unnecessary expenses." Within weeks, she fired the CFO for being too negative. Then came the head of operations. One by one, the most experienced people left. The company, my father's pride and legacy, was now being led by someone who didn't understand it at all. I overheard the whispers from employees. Contracts were being cancelled. Payments were late. I saw stacks of unpaid invoices piling up on her desk. She didn't even bother reading them. Yet, she continued shopping, attending high-end galas, pretending as if nothing had changed. I tried to talk to her. "Mom, the company is in trouble. You need someone experienced to help you manage it." She only laughed. "Lauren, you're too young to understand. I know what I'm doing." But she knew nothing. The company collapsed faster than I expected. Within a year, my mother had driven it into insurmountable debt. She scrambled to borrow money, mortgaged everything she could, but it wasn't enough. One day, I came home and found her sitting in the living room, holding a letter in her trembling hands. I already knew what it was. A notice of bankruptcy. Before I could speak, she threw the letter onto the table. "We still have the house, right?" 4 months later, we lost the house. Movers arrived, boxing up everything. Expensive furniture, the paintings my mother had collected, the designer gowns she had once bragged about. I stood in my bedroom, watching them pack away my childhood, feeling nothing but emptiness. My mother still refused to accept reality. "I'll figure something out. We'll buy it back, we just need a little time." But I knew, we were never coming back. In the end, we had one thing left. My college fund. And I knew it was only a matter of time before she tried to take it. After losing the house, we moved into a small apartment in the suburbs. The kind of place my mother once looked down on. From a sprawling mansion with a heated pool and luxury cars in the garage, we were now crammed into a 2-bedroom unit with worn-out furniture and threadbare carpets. My mother never said it outright, but I knew she hated it. Yet, even as everything crumbled, she refused to let go of her spending habits. At first, she tried to maintain appearances, clinging to the illusion of wealth. She wore old designer clothes, carefully applied her makeup before stepping outside, pretending this was only temporary. But the money kept dwindling. One day, I came home and found her sitting at the kitchen table, a stack of documents in front of her. She was reading through paperwork about my college fund. I froze. "Lauren, you know we need to talk about this." Her voice was soft, but I immediately sensed the danger behind it. I sat down, my heart pounding. I had anticipated this moment. I knew it was coming. "You have a trust fund. Money your father left for you. We need to use it." I took a deep breath. "No, Mom. That money is for my education." She placed her hand over mine, her gaze gentle, but I saw the calculation in her eyes. You don't understand, Lauren. We need that money to start over. I'll find a way to invest it, to fix everything. If we don't, we'll lose everything. I pulled my hand away. We've already lost everything, Mom, and I can't let you take my future away from me. For the first time, her face hardened. You're so selfish, Lauren. You're sitting on a pile of money while we're struggling. I felt the anger rise within me. I'm not sitting on a pile of money. That's my college fund, Mom. Dad left it for me because he knew this would happen. He knew you'd spend everything. She slammed her hand on the table. How dare you say that to me, after everything I've done for you? I let out a bitter laugh. What have you done for me? Besides driving this family into ruin. She stared at me, her eyes filled with rage and hurt. But I felt no guilt. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty for speaking the truth. From that day on, my mother never mentioned the college fund again. But she changed tactics. Instead of demanding it outright, she used guilt as a weapon. I sacrificed my whole life for you, Lauren. I gave up everything to take care of you, and this is how you repay me? I can't believe how cruel you are. Don't you love me at all? The words came daily, chipping away at me like water eroding a stone. I knew I was right, but there were moments when I felt weak. Silent dinners, lingering looks of disappointment. She no longer treated me as her daughter. She treated me as a traitor. We didn't talk about anything except money. If I walked into the kitchen, she would let out a dramatic sigh. If I bought a new book, she would glance at it with disdain. I felt like a stranger in my own home. I knew I had to leave. I secretly applied to college. Not to a school nearby, not anywhere she could follow me. I chose a university 3 states away, a place where I could start over. A place where she couldn't control me anymore. When I received my acceptance letter, I didn't tell her right away. I hid it in my drawer, knowing that once she found out, she would try to stop me. But I couldn't stay here forever. I had to escape before she destroyed my future too. I left on an early August morning, just as the sun was rising. My mother didn't see me off. She didn't wish me luck. She just sat in the living room staring at her phone screen as if I no longer existed. I pulled my suitcase to the car, shut the door behind me, and didn't look back. College life wasn't easy, but at least it was a life I could control. I received a partial scholarship, but I still had to manage the rest on my own. I worked part-time at the campus library, tutored in the evenings, and survived on the cheapest meals I could find. Every month I planned my expenses down to the last cent. No designer clothes, no luxury vacations, no expensive dinners like before. I learned how to save, how to live simply, and most importantly, how to be independent. In the beginning I would check my phone, waiting for a message from my mother. But she never texted. The first time she called was 2 months after I left. Lauren, do you have any idea how much I'm struggling? The rent is due, the bills are piling up. I can't handle this on my own. I closed my eyes, forcing myself to stay calm. Mom, I don't have money. I'm barely managing to support myself. But you have your college fund, can't you withdraw a little to help your own mother? I clenched my phone tightly. Mom, I've told you before. That money is for my education. She was silent for a few seconds, then sighed. Fine, just let me starve then. I hung up. That was the first of many calls, all following the same script. Lauren, the electricity is about to be shut off. Lauren, I don't have enough money for groceries. Lauren, I really need help. At first I felt guilty. After all, she was my mother. But then I realized. She never once asked about my life at school, never once checked if I was okay. She only called when she needed money. I slowly learned how to say no. Not because I was heartless, but because I knew that if I gave in once, she would never stop. I graduated with honors. On graduation day, I stood in the middle of the campus courtyard, watching other students being embraced and congratulated by their families. No one was there for me. My mother didn't come. She didn't even call. I didn't know what I had expected. But no matter what, I was proud of myself. After graduation, I got a job at a financial firm in New York. The salary wasn't high at first, but I knew I was on the right path. I rented a small apartment, continued saving, and worked hard. I climbed the corporate ladder quickly. Within 3 years, I was promoted twice and finally had a stable life. And that's when my mother came back. This time, her call sounded different. No excessive complaints, no emotional manipulation. "Lauren, I know how hard you've worked to achieve everything you have today. I'm proud of you." I almost couldn't believe my ears. For the first time, she said something that wasn't about money. Then she continued, "I don't want to be a burden to you. I just need a little support to get by. Just a small amount. I promise I won't take advantage of you." I thought about it for a long time. I couldn't completely abandon her, but I also couldn't let her control my life again. In the end, I decided to send her $1,000 a month. Not a lot, but enough for her to live on. At first, she accepted the money without complaints. Her calls became lighter. She started asking about my job, my life, the things I had accomplished. The silent dinners we once had turned into conversations that were almost pleasant. I still kept my distance, but at least our relationship had become more civil. However, I never forgot the past. I knew exactly who my mother was, and I knew she would never truly change. I had set a boundary, and this time, I would never let her cross it. I had grown used to my mother's calls. They came regularly each month, always starting with pleasant small talk before smoothly shifting to the familiar topic: money. At first, she kept to our agreement. Every month, I sent her $1,000, and our relationship remained at a safe distance. But then, she started finding more subtle ways to ask for help. "Lauren, I found this lovely little restaurant that you would love. Let's have dinner, just the two of us." We met at a mid-range Italian place. The meal wasn't too expensive and I was happy to cover the bill. But then, these dinners became a habit. She started expanding our family dinners by inviting 1 or 2 relatives. "Oh, you don't mind, do you, Lauren? Family time is important after all." The bill crept up. From $50 to $150, then to $300. But I said nothing. I thought that if this was the cost of keeping a peaceful relationship, maybe I could tolerate it. But I was wrong. 3 years after I started supporting my mother, she called me one April morning. "Lauren, I've been thinking a lot about my birthday this year." I smiled, mentally checking the calendar. "I was just about to ask what you'd like to do." "We could have a nice dinner, somewhere you like, just with close family." "Oh, that's so sweet of you." Her voice was gentle. "But this time, I want to plan it myself. You just need to come and enjoy. No need to worry about anything." A toehold. Something in her tone made me uneasy, but I brushed it off, telling myself that maybe she just wanted to be more independent. I had no reason to be suspicious. Until I received a text message on the day of her birthday. "Come at 7 p.m. Address, the Grand Royale." I stared at the screen. The Grand Royale? That was the most upscale restaurant in the city, where a single appetizer cost a few $100s. A chill ran down my spine. When I walked into the restaurant that evening, my unease instantly turned into horror. A grand private banquet hall, dazzling under massive crystal chandeliers. Long tables covered in white linen, expensive wine glasses, and menus without listed prices. At least 30 people were in the room. All relatives and my mother's friends. My head spun. What had she done? She rushed over, embracing me tightly, her smile radiant. "Lauren, you made it! Happy birthday to me!" I pulled back, trying to keep my voice steady. "Mom? What is this?" "Ugh, I just wanted to have a big celebration for once. After everything, I deserve a special night." I scanned the room. Premium champagne, fine red wine, plates of Wagyu steak. I turned back to my mother, a cold sensation creeping through me. "Mom, who's paying for this party?" Her smile didn't waver. "Lauren, of course you are. You always take care of me, don't you?" The air in the room froze. People turned to look at me, waiting for my response. A knot tightened in my stomach. This wasn't just a dinner. This was a trap. She hadn't told me about the party because she knew I would refuse. And now, in front of 30 people, she was forcing me to foot a bill I hadn't agreed to. I looked around, forcing myself to stay calm. "I'm sorry, but I can't pay for this dinner." The room fell into silence. My mother stiffened. "Lauren, don't joke." I shook my head. "I'm not joking. I didn't agree to pay for a party I knew nothing about." "But you always pay," her voice shrieked in disbelief. I took a deep breath. Yes, I used to pay, but that was when I had a choice. Today, you took that choice away from me. The entire room fell silent. Some relatives exchanged uneasy glances. Everyone knew I was right. I reached into my wallet, pulled out $200, and placed it on the table. "This is for my meal. The rest? Good luck." I turned and walked out before anyone could react. I didn't look back. I didn't hear my mother's footsteps chasing after me. I only heard the sound of my heels clicking against the marble floor. The only sound of freedom. I had just stepped into my hotel room, not even taking off my shoes, when my phone rang. "Mom." I knew this call was coming, but I didn't expect it this soon. I stared at the screen for a few seconds before answering. "Lauren, what the hell do you think you're doing?" Her voice was sharp with rage, completely devoid of the sweet pleading tone she used whenever she wanted something. "Mom, I was clear, I'm not paying for that party." "Do you even know what happened after you left? Do you know how everyone had to split the bill?" I stayed silent, waiting for her to continue. "Everyone had to pay nearly $400 each," she screamed. "Do you understand? They had to pay because of you." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "No, Mom, they didn't pay because of me, they paid because of you, because you threw a party without telling me, because you put me in a situation where I had no choice. You are the most ungrateful child I have ever seen, after everything I've done for you." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. I knew it was time to do what I should have done long ago. "Mom, I can't keep doing this." "What do you mean?" Her voice dropped, cautious now. I opened my laptop, my hands steady for the first time in years. "I'm cutting off your financial support. Starting today, I won't be sending you another cent." Silence stretched across the line. For a moment, I thought she had hung up. Then, her voice came back, cold as ice. "You can't do this to me. You promised to take care of me." I clicked cancel on the automatic bank transfer. "I never promised that, Mom. I helped you when I could, but I won't be used anymore." She screamed. "You think you're so great, don't you? You think just because you have a good job you can turn your back on your family? You are a disgusting, selfish, greedy person, Lauren." I hung up. I didn't stop there. Within the next hour, I canceled the internet service I had been paying for, called the car dealership and arranged to have my old car, which was still in my name, repossessed. Blocked her number. Sent one final message to the family group chat. As of today, I will no longer be providing financial support to Mom or anyone else in this family. If you have any issues, take care of them yourselves. Best of luck. I hit send. Less than a minute later, the notifications started flooding in. Aunt Karen. "Lauren, what are you doing? Your mother raised you for so many years, and this is how you repay her?" "Uncle Mark, you're turning yourself into a disgrace to this family. Your father would be so disappointed in you." Cousin Rachel. "Don't ever expect an invitation to my wedding. I don't want someone like you there on my special day." The messages poured in, each one condemning me. But what stood out to me the most was that not a single person offered to help my mother. Not one person said, "Don't worry, Evelyn, I'll take care of you." Not one person said, "I'll support her." They were only angry because I had stopped paying for them. In the weeks that followed, my phone kept ringing with calls from unknown numbers. I didn't answer. I heard from an old friend that my mother had to move into a smaller apartment, that she was telling everyone how her daughter had abandoned her after all the sacrifices she had made. But no one helped her. None of the people who once praised her, who depended on my money, were willing to give her a single cent. She had always seen me as an endless wallet, the only one she could control. But this time, I had truly left. I didn't feel guilty. I only felt relieved. After cutting off my mother financially, my life entered an entirely new chapter. No more guilt-ridden phone calls, no more manipulative messages, no more feeling burdened every time I got paid. For the first time in years, I felt truly free. Instead of worrying about when my mother would call demanding money, I focused on myself. My career flourished. I was promoted to a project management position, handling bigger contracts and earning the salary I deserved. With the money that used to be drained by my mother, I finally invested in my own future. I moved into a spacious apartment in the heart of the city, bought a new car instead of the old one I had reluctantly given her, and took time to travel, enjoying the life I had worked so hard to build. And most importantly, I no longer felt guilty. I no longer woke up each morning with the anxiety of wondering how my mother would manipulate me next. I no longer questioned if I was a bad daughter for setting boundaries. Because, in the end, I understood that love is not manipulation. 6 months after I cut ties, my mother tried to contact me again. The first message came on a Saturday evening, as I sipped a glass of wine on my balcony after a long work week. "Mom. Lauren. I miss you, can we meet?" I stared at the screen. A part of me wanted to believe she had changed. But I knew my mother. I didn't reply. The next day, another message arrived. "Mom. Lauren, I was wrong about so many things, I don't want to lose you." I almost responded, but then I remembered all the times before. The times she pretended to be sorry just to drag me back into the same toxic cycle. I couldn't do that to myself again. 3 days later, she called. I hesitated but answered. "Lauren, I'm so happy you picked up." Her voice was warm, gentle, but I could hear the hesitation in her words. "I just want to see you, just for a coffee." I stayed silent. I really want to start over. I closed my eyes, steadying my voice. "Mom. Do you understand why I left?" She sighed. "I know, I've made mistakes. But are you really going to abandon me forever?" I felt a simmering anger rise inside me. "You still think I abandoned you, Mom? Have you ever taken responsibility for what you've done?" She was silent. "I helped you for years. I paid the bills, bought you a car, supported you financially, and you never once showed gratitude. You just wanted more, and when I said no, you made me the bad guy." She took a sharp breath. "Lauren, I have no one else but you." I gripped the phone tighter. "You have an entire family. But you never ask them for help." "Why?" She didn't answer right away. But I knew why. Because none of them wanted to be used the way I had been. "Mom, I am not a bank, I am not your long-term financial plan. If you truly want me in your life, you need to understand that I will no longer be your wallet." She took a deep breath. "So, what are you saying?" "I'm saying that if you want a relationship with me, it has to be an equal one. No more money, no more manipulation, just mother and daughter." The silence stretched. I had no idea what she was thinking. Then, finally, she let out a small laugh. "You're forcing me to suffer in poverty." I closed my eyes, hurt but not surprised. Still her. Still that mindset. "Then you have your answer," I said calmly. I hung up. And this time, I didn't feel guilty. A year later, I heard that she had moved into a smaller apartment. She still told everyone that I was the ungrateful daughter who abandoned her. But this time, no one cared anymore. No one helped her. No one lent her money. The people who once benefited from my generosity disappeared the moment the money was gone. I no longer kept track of her life. I focused on myself. My career, my friends, the trips and experiences I had missed out on while being trapped in her cycle. I had stepped out of my mother's shadow. I had reclaimed my life. And I was never going back. Lauren Parker's story is not just a family tragedy. It's a profound lesson on personal boundaries and the value of independence. In reality, many people find themselves in similar situations, being financially exploited by family under the guise of love and duty. But helping doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. Lauren learned to say no, to set boundaries, and, in the end, she found freedom. Family should not be a financial burden, and real love is not manipulation. Sometimes, walking away is the only way to save yourself. What do you think about Lauren Parker's story? Do you sympathize with her, or do you think she was too harsh on her mother? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to follow the channel for more emotional real-life stories about family, love, and personal boundaries.